it's time now to review headlines on today's newspapers with the Ombudsman of This Day and Arise Media Group and This Day Newspaper Limited Group Executive Director Kayode Komolafe. Good morning, KK, and
good morning,
happy
OG.
Sunday to you.
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, KK.
Good morning,
Good to see you as always.
Good morning. All right, so we'll proceed with the newspaper review, as always, with This Day on Sunday, where the lead story says, Akpabio, Tinubu steering Nigeria through turbulent waters, pledges National Assembly support to take nation's ship to harbors of bliss and development. On top of that lead story is another one, which readers will find on page 5. Lawyers raise the alarm over depleting number of Supreme Court justices. I think that's an important one at a time that there are so many cases, going to the Supreme Court. And on top of that, the strip story says Zamfara governor issues shoot at sight order against illegal miners. That's on page 6 of today's This Day on Sunday. And on top of the masthead, Atiku's camp urges Tinubu to resign over his Chicago academic record. That's another story on page 5. Interesting that Chicago is still on the front burner. Chicago State University, the president's credentials, and of course what is expected. I guess tomorrow there's a court to give a kind of a ruling on what Atiku is requesting. And on the window, federal government announces $13.5 billion investment commitments to boost oil output, targets 2.1 million barrel per day by 2024, concludes engagement with 15 major producers. The cover picture coming together for humanity, and here we have the former president of the United Republic of Tanzania and chair of the board of directors Global Partnership for Education, Jakaya Kikwete, and founder CEO Human Capital Africa, Dr. Obiageli Ezekwesili, together with the founder CEO Great Green Wall of Africa Foundation, Ramatulaye Diallo Ndiaye, at the Foundational Learning Roundtable during the United Nations General Assembly in New York recently. Those are the stories on the cover of today's This Day, KK.
Thank you, Steve. The front page story of this day today could be described, in a letter note that the Anang boy has taken his colleagues, taking his colleagues home. That is the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, from Akwa Ibom.
Yeah.
So the National Assembly members who are actually on recess, they are also having a retreat there, and as it is expected of such occasions, it is full of. It was full of exhortations, more or less reaffirming the point which he made. I think the day he took oath of office as a Senate President, that there will be a synergy of purpose between the National Assembly and the executive. Of course, nobody expects anything less, given the fact that the party that is in power, the party of the president, that is APC, also has the majority in the National Assembly. But then Senator Akpabio also should listen to his public, as he gives leadership to the National Assembly, that that arm of government is expected, to perform its constitutional role.
Yes.
And that constitutional role, includes, put some kind of checks on the executive, apart from making good laws, for Nigeria. So it's also important to also be wary, of the integrity, of the assembly, because the assembly will be as effective, as its integrity goals. The other important story, on the front page of this story about the depletion of the Supreme Court.
Yes.
Instead of the normal 21 justices of the court, like right now, we are having just 11. That is 10 short.
11, only 11.
Yes, only 11. In fact, the situation is so dire that by the time the CJ constitutes the panel that will air the appeal on the presidential election dispute. Now, the remaining, there will be seven justices in that panel that will rule on the appeal from Atiku and Peter Obi. Now, the remaining 4 might not be able to constitute a quorum to sit on any other issue. So it's like, if care is not taken, it might be having crisis. And this is purely avoidable because it's just a routine systemic thing. That if a vacancy exists,
fill up the space.
Fill up, without any.
That's an NJC responsibility, isn't it?
Yes, and also, but the nomination has to be made by the, by the president. Yeah. And so what I'm saying that all the various institutions that are involved, should be wary, of the crisis that may ensue if the proper thing is not done, and that this is just normally a routine thing that should be done without any crisis.
All right, I wanted you to touch on that Zamfara story really quickly, ordering shoot at sight. We know that the mining issue in Zamfara is very serious, but I'm not even aware of governors issuing such orders at this point.
Yeah, I share your concern, OG. I think the point again should be stressed that we are in a liberal democratic order in the institutions. The question of illegal mining, constitutes a crime. And there are institutions, for dealing with crime, and that's why you have the police. We have the judicial process. I don't think that it is proper in a civil setting for any chief executive to be giving order that people should be shot outside.
If you recall, President Muhammadu Buhari did that as well. Those that are carrying AK-47s, that they should be shot at sight. No. But our governors are given that type of executive power to issue such orders. Nobody is given power in Nigerian law. That was an issue. To order, extrajudicial killing.
Yes. If anybody is committing the crime of illegal mining, the proper thing to do is that the police and maybe other law enforcement agents will do their work, get them and take them through the judicial process, and there should be a pronouncement. There's nobody under Nigerian law that is given the power, to summarily order the execution, of anybody, and that is quite antithetical, to the democratic order. So yes, the governor is the chief security officer of the state. He has the responsibility, as the chief executive officer of the state, to ensure, that laws, are implemented. But that does not give him the power, to order, the killing of anybody. Because at best, the people you are accusing, they are suspects, They
are suspects, and they may not
so
even be legal. So it is
when you now take them through the judicial process that you know whether they are guilty, of the crime that you are accusing them of, or not, But when you just say that, if a policeman sees somebody and he suspects that it's an illegal minor, it should be shot, That is quite. Nigeria is not a jungle.
Absolutely not. I like that you covered that aspect as well because it's so important. We saw that during the last administration, and there was that outrage about President Buhari issuing that shoot at sight for those that are carrying AK-47.
And if I may refresh your memory, it wasn't you started President Buhari. There was a time too in 2001 that President Obasanjo, on a live television program, gave an order, shoot at sight orders against the OPC.
That's correct.
If I will quote him, he said, if anybody calls himself OPC, he should be shot, Just like I participated in that, I was part of a panel, interviewing, and I was shocked when he actually gave the order in a live. He said, I've told the IG, where anybody calls himself the OPC, he should be shot aside, All these are just hangover of the military.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Democracy is not just going into election. It's a culture. That mentality. The mentality has to change. That when we talk of the rule of law, it's not just something we talk about glibly. it has to be practiced, as a culture. Yeah.
Well said, Mr. Komolafe. Let's move over now to This Day Style. If we can pull up This Day Style and the cover picture there. The Real Housewives of Lagos, unfiltered and unforgettable. Iyabo Ojo takes center stage in that picture there. I mean, she is returning to Real Housewives. Chirito, I know that you have been watching this series.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it came out, Real Housewives came out about a year ago. They did their premiere yesterday at the IMAX cinemas in Lekki. 2 new members of cast, Tanya Motayo and I think someone called Faith More, because 2 people had fallen out. It's one of the biggest shows on Showmax right now. Of course, one of coming off of the international series, The Real Housewives, that's kind of gone all over the world, and now they're in Lagos. I guess the best of reality TV, and This Day Style covering it. They all look beautiful, representing. We're talking about fashion this morning. This is the Owambe now that we're talking about.
I was talking about, but I love the fact that Iyabo Ojo is taking center stage in this picture, because if you recall, she was a huge voice with this Justice for Mohbad movement, and I really appreciate, the fact that she, did that. And also we saw Tonto DK as well. Strong women lending their voice to this type of movement.
Strong women.
Well, yes, strong women. Let's, can we take the Wheel newspaper as well with This Day Style?
All right, then the Wheel, the top, the headline story there reads, Federal government reinstates fuel subsidy as economy falters. Naira hovers near a record 1,000 Naira to $1. Tinubu seeks quick forward sale of crude, solid minerals to raise dollars. And experts are preferring solutions to economic crisis as the fresh strike looms as NLC ultimatum expires. Mr. KK, I thought fuel subsidy was gone. What's going on?
It's subsidy back, KK. That's what the Wheel is saying.
Well, I'll remind you of the caption of a This Day story about, I think about 2 weeks ago.
Long leave subsidy.
Yes, the subsidy is gone.
Long leave subsidy. We called it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but I think what this suggests is that like this, that story says that experts are providing solutions, but that is not just enough. That some of those solutions should be implemented to avoid a crisis. Because we may as well take this story, which is especially in all the papers, about the threat of strike by NLC, which is an expression of the pressure, from the society that that not only must these solutions be articulated, but the implementation should also be fast. So that's to avoid.
Okay.
Avoid
now that you've mentioned it, let's just go there. The Sunday Punch and Telegraph have the story on their cover. Punch is very big with it. NLC mobilizes chapters for total strike. Federal government plans talks on Monday. Ekiti, Rivers, Yobe, others express readiness for industrial action. FG appeals for understanding to meet labor leaders Monday. Sunday Telegraph puts it this way: NLC to Tinubu, deal with fuel subsidy cabal, fix refineries to stop suffering. Faults government's approach to pricing of petroleum products. Oil experts urges government to raise production. So everybody's still talking about refineries and the need to fix them. We'll go on strike if you don't. But then I asked a question based on what the Wheel published. Is subsidy back? Did we pay subsidy for the month of August? That's what that's what is flying.
Officially, there hasn't been any statement, on that. But I think what experts are calculating is that, given the reality, of the market, that what the cost is now, and the fact that the price at least has not changed from the last hike, that definitely, somebody,
So the mere fact that it has not moved from 6-something to 900 that they are claiming is the price of that somebody must be showing up.
About policy articulation. So it is therefore necessary, for government, government officials, policy makers, to come out, and articulate exactly, what the situation is,
where we are,
especially in the course of the engagement with labor, and other stakeholders.
Absolutely.
In the economy.
Absolutely. Punch is also saying that Okada riders defy Sanwo-Olu's return to prohibited routes, which will be sad. I mean, from Fashola's time through Ambode's time now through, Sanwo-Olu's first time, it looks like there's no permanent solution to the menace of the Okada riders. That's the story on page 42 of today's Punch. Yet another story: fake drug traders deserve life imprisonment. That's the registrar of the Pharmacy Council speaking there. And on the governorship elections, police to deploy drones, others in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa.
All right. So let's look at Sunday Vanguard, the lead story there. Struggling economy. Ramble as 22 governors hire over 5,000 aides. Mr. Komolafe, what is with these people hiring all of these aides? And I'd like for you to touch on two other stories on the Vanguard. Insecurity. U.S. warns Americans against visiting 18 Nigerian states. Did you read this story, the 18 states that were mentioned as well? And I'd like your help with the storm in Oyo Kingdom. Oyo Mensi insists new Alafin has been chosen. Royal families trade wards. Those three stories quickly.
Okay, first, the 5,000 aides, at a time when the official position is that we should be in some kind of austerity. That there is, the government is cash-strapped. The business of actually delivering public good, there is no money to finance it. I think it's outrageous, because implicit in that is, some elements of insensitivity, on the part, the chief executive officers.
Yeah.
And then it also brings to light at this point, when people talk about the cost of governance, and to reduce public spending, there is a mistaken belief that you're actually talking of the wages paid to public servants, civil servants who actually have permanent jobs, and that is their career. That has not all. That has never been the issue.
Yeah.
You discover that it is the money. It is the expenses on these political appointees who, in any case, they are ad hoc. Their tenure will expire. By the time the tenure of the chief executive officer appointing them. So I think it's marks of insensitivity on the part of the government to be hiring so many aides, and to be financed from the treasury at a time when the government is pushing austerity.
Especially when they talk about the cost of governance. Very quickly, let's take the Guardian, the cover story there, as long even with the picture. Hashtag the NSAS scare. The youths are gathering again over Mohbad. That's on page 2. Very, very... I think that was on Friday. We spoke about this on the show yesterday about how there has been a faction that has taken the demise of Mohbad. Very, very sad story, but are now almost trying to sum it all up with the NSAS protest and taking it to the Lekki toll gate, where the police had to now get involved, and then there was tear gas. Some people were injured and had to be taken to the hospital. Your thoughts on this, Mr. KK, as we wrap up?
I think that is unfortunate, because what has come through, into the open, which to me is very significant, is the impact, that the young man, must have made in his life, because you have, this candlelight procession, not just only in different cities, Nigeria, and even in other countries in the US, in the UK, and only yesterday there was another one in Port Harcourt, even though the police announced that it was cancelled, but later some of the sympathizers, I think the young people who are doing this, should respect the sobriety, of the occasion. And what we are doing is, one, calling for justice, for Mohbad.
For Mohbad.
For Mohbad, and also honoring, his memory. I think that could be done without, provoking, another crisis entirely.
Absolutely.
So I think it is important, to call for justice, respect of Mohbad.
All right, you forgot to mention the insecurity. The U.S. wants Americans against visiting those 18 Nigerian states really quickly.
Yeah. Well, I think it is up to the U.S. to advise the citizens, just as Nigeria too can issue advisory. You know, which cities Nigeria should go in the U.S. where people are shot, on the streets, and killing. So I think it is the prerogative of America to advise its citizens. But then it speaks to the question of insecurity here, and that should alert the relevant authorities that we should be.
Yeah, all right.
Great.
Well, Mr. Komolafe, would like to thank you very much for joining us on our Sunday Tonic program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, KK. And that brings us to the end of the morning show today. Thank you for watching, and do stay safe. I'm Steve Ayorinde.
And I'm Sheiton Atigari.
And I'm Oji Okwe. From our entire team here in Lagos, Nigeria. Enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day. Goodbye.